So then, Battlefield 1 has finally released. Given that Battlefield 4 had to last double the amount of time that it was meant to last for, you might sympathise with me when I say that I'm a little bit out of practice when it comes to playing Battlefield titles. So for today's video, I thought it might be a good idea to go over a couple of tips that you can use to help make sure that you're playing to the best of your ability. The first tip I have for you is to get in a squad. Battlefield 1 makes this incredibly easy, as before you even reach the spawn screen, it forces you to join a squad. You should be trying to fill up squads as much as possible, so your team should have squads of 4 or even 5 people. If you have 3 people in your squad, you might want to think about switching to one that's a little bit more full. Keep this in mind when playing with friends. Even if you don't have a voice connection with everyone in your squad, you'll still be able to help each other out and gain more points from the squad bonuses that are tied to many of the teamwork actions in game. Ensure you have a range of classes within your squad too. You don't want everybody to play assault or everybody to play medic. You need 1 or 2 medics to keep the squad alive, 1 to resupply with ammo, 1 to deal damage against armor, and maybe 1 to defend the squad from long range enemy fire. Following this tip will not only improve your longevity in game, but it will also help you rank up that little bit faster. This leads into my next tip, to learn your ranges. The assault class is most effective at close to medium range, the support is most effective at close to medium range as well, the medic is most effective at medium range, and the scout is most effective at medium to longer ranges. If you try to remember this and stick to the areas that cater to your range, then this will help you to keep engagement on your terms, where you know that you are going to have the biggest advantage. It goes without saying really that a shotgun is going to be outclassed by a sniper at long range, so you'll want to stick to cover when crossing open spaces, keep your head down and only engage enemies if you absolutely have to. Don't engage unless you're sure that you're absolutely capable of winning that firefight, and try to be aware that there could be other enemies around. It's all well and good engaging one enemy that you can clearly see, but what happens if there's another enemy around the corner that's alerted to your presence when you start shooting at the enemy? This is something to keep in mind when choosing your engagements, and it will all come in time as you play more of the game and your game sense develops, but sticking to your most effective range will give you a good start at developing it. One thing to bear in mind whilst playing is to take your time. Matches in Battlefield are quite often around 30 minutes long, if not more, depending on which game mode you're playing. So you're not exactly short on time. There's no need to rush into an objective to capture it straight away unless you get into the end of the match. When approaching an objective or even a building that you want to infiltrate, slow down, assess what's going on around you. Are there any enemies within the vicinity? Can you hear gunfire? Are there any teammates around? Are there any dead teammates around? Dead teammates are usually a telltale sign that an enemy has passed through the area recently. Again, this skill is something that develops with your game sense as you continue to play, but you should be aware of it. I just briefly mentioned this, but sound is incredibly important within Battlefield games. DICE are known for working audio wizardry in their games, and they certainly haven't skimped out with Battlefield 1. You can usually hear an enemy before you see them, so try to listen out for certain things like their weapon. You should be able to distinguish between a shotgun, a self-loading rifle, a bolt action, an SMG, etc. Each weapon has a distinct sound. Use this knowledge to your advantage. If you hear a shotgun, try and position yourself that you'll be harder to hit at a slightly longer range. The same goes for self-loading rifles. Hear one of these, and you should try to stick to areas with tight corners to give yourself the one-up advantage. Of course, you still have to bear in mind the effective range of your own weapon, but the bottom line is, make sure you're listening out for the sounds in Battlefield 1. They're half of the audio-visual experience, and they will work wonders for improving your gameplay. One of the crucial parts of the game to get overhauled is the revive system. Previously, when you died, you had a very finite window during which you could get revived. This window has been made much larger in Battlefield 1, and you actually have to manually press a button to return to the spawn screen, meaning that you can sit on the death screen for a good 15, 20, even 30 seconds before being forced to return to the spawn menu. If you see that there's a medic nearby, as I said before, take your time, wait a little while, because I found that more often than not, if you sit there for a longer period of time than normal, the medic will eventually come and revive you. This isn't always the case, but a lot of the time you'd be surprised at actually how frequently people will revive you. You just have to be patient with them. Linking in with the loadout of weapons, make sure to consider the magnification setting that can be found in the loadout menu of each weapon. To compensate for the very few weapon sights that DICE could implement in order to keep the game somewhat historically accurate, they've implemented a way that lets you essentially customize the zoom of your sight to your own personal preference. This is extremely useful for weapons like the Lawrence of Arabia SMLE sniper, which is only available with iron sights. Moving the magnification level up higher will make picking out long-range targets much more accessible than if you were trying to contest with that of a standard magnification of the iron sight. It might also pay off to find a magnification that suits you personally. Just like field of view, magnification is often a personal preference, so just play around with it and see what feels right to you. The final tip I have for you is related to the minimap. The minimap has returned from previous titles and the same functionality has been brought along with it. You can change the minimap into a full-size map at just the press of a button, and you can also adjust the zoom level of the map with the press of a separate button. I recommend rebinding these functions to something easily accessible for you, like thumb buttons on a mouse, so you can use this functionality on the fly. Say you're running through a field on St. Quentin Scar and your minimap scale is set to 50 meters. That's not necessarily going to pick up enemies that are a threat to you, since your environment is of a slightly longer range than 50 meters. You'll want to up the zoom level to something like 100 or even 250 meters to enable you to spot potential threats more easily. Bringing the map up to full screen is something very useful for formulating your next plan of attack. You can easily see which objectives are closest to your position, and it gives you a lot more detailed information about what's going on around the entire map. You can see every player's death marked by a skull and crossbones, you can see vehicles, you can see literally everything. The minimap is all about providing the player with information, so make sure that you are using it to its fullest extent. So there you have it, those are the tips that I think will help you hit the ground running when you finally get in and play Battlefield 1. What are your thoughts on this? Are there any that I missed? Are there any that you would like to contribute? Make sure you leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to reply to you. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching and I shall catch you in another video.